Hello everyone, welcome back to Blue Ridge Silverhound, and I'm your host Sean. And today, a patron request. Someone had mentioned that, Sean, I hear that you can make money by buying, selling slabbed graded coins. Can you tell me all about it? What's involved? Well, that's a great question, and yes, that does exist in today's landscape of the buy, sell, trade, marketplace of coin collecting. And graded coins typically are a perfect safe haven when it comes to investing in coins. Okay, the one thing you want to keep in mind, whether it's PCGS, NGC, Annex, even this relatively unknown grader, which I'll get to here in a second, they all offer one thing, and that is the peace of mind that you are getting a legitimate, real deal coin. Now, I'm not going to bullcrap you. There are times where a counterfeit can make their way into the slabs. These things are not bulletproof by any stretch of the imagination, but it is worth mentioning that there are a number of resources online that you could use to help kind of safeguard against possibly buying not only a counterfeit slab, but buying a counterfeit coin. Now, if you were to look at any one of these coins, okay, the thing that you're going to want to keep an eye out on is this number right here. This is the certification ID number for this particular coin. So what you're going to want to do, okay, let's say you're shopping, one of the more shadier kind of unscrupulous areas of buying slab coins would be at like a flea market or perhaps a garage sale. You just don't know. Maybe even Craigslist. Okay, those are like three of the top marketplace areas in which more counterfeits and things of that nature would pass through and not anybody would know about it. Okay. So this particular number right here, you're going to want to go onto the respective website of the grader, NGC, or Numismatic Guarantee Corporation. Type this in, and you want to make sure that it matches the type of coin that it is. I've actually, on purpose, purchased counterfeit slabs in which I've put in that number, and it either came up not in database or it comes up with a completely different coin. Now, keep in mind, this piece of label right here is just a piece of paper. It's easy to modify. It's easy to fabricate. So when you're dealing with coins like this, you want to make sure that you have access to the respective grading website. Okay, oftentimes these are all going to have some sort of resource where you could double check the certification number. Second thing, and most importantly, do your homework. What kind of coins are you buying? Are you just going to go in blindly, all willy-nilly, without knowing anything about the coins? There are specific coins where they are more apt to be counterfeited. A 1955 double die Lincoln cent is one that is widely counterfeited. Okay, Chinese fakes appear weekly all over the place. Take a look at eBay. All right, you're gonna come across some that are guaranteed fakes, not only of that coin, but many coins like it as well. With silver coins, counterfeiters have mastered the art of doing a cast copy that looks like silver. They can even replicate some of the luster that you see on this piece dollar right here. Those are all things you gotta keep an eye out for. But at the end of the day, education is probably the most important tool in any coin collector or investor's arsenal. Okay, you know how to identify counterfeits, let alone knowing the information about the respective coins or the series or what have you, is going to go a long way in ensuring that you are going to make smart money decisions when you're buying these things. Now, from an investor standpoint, graded coins are by far and away the best vehicle, okay, as opposed to buying them raw. Okay, raw coins would simply be coins that aren't graded at all, like this Buffalo nickel right here. There's a lot more liability. Okay, there is less guarantee in the overall value of your coin as long as it's raw. I know it seems silly because way back in the day, all we had to go buy was the raw ungraded coin. So what I wanted to do first and foremost is to discuss each type of coin holder. Okay, the one on the left is PCGS. Right here in this white soap bar style larger slab is NGC. Believe it or not, this is an annex. Okay, they're one of the oldest grading companies right here, but this is also an older style of slab. Okay, the newer ones will have the yellow label and it's curved toward the top of the holder right here. Okay, where if they're stacked in a box, not only is it rounded on one side, beveled, but you'll also see the description of the coin, which is pretty neat. Personally, I'm not a fan of the holder look, only because they don't match very well with the more kind of traditional, I guess, slabs like the NGC and the PCGS. And this one right here, this odd bird that's sitting all the way on the end. And there is one other slab, by the way, I don't have here, only because I go out of my way not to have them. So I'll either buy a coin that's graded by ICG, which will have a soft baby blue label, which is similar to a PCGS, okay, but it'll say ICG on there. I usually crack those out and I resubmit them, okay? But this one right here is from a company called PCI. All right, this is a company that existed back in the 90s for the most part and into the 2000s. So they existed all the way up to the recession period of the economy. All right, so 2008 to 2010, and then shortly thereafter they went out of business. I do not think that these guys exist anymore. But PCI, you have to be careful, okay? Because they are known to be very lax on their grading, all right? And in some cases, they're known to be very strict. So in this particular case, if you come across a PCI, of course, it's going to be octagonal in shape. You're going to have the beveled corners on them. You want to make sure you buy the coin and pay less attention to the slab, okay? I like that they put the mintage here. But overall, side by side, they're about the same size, same height, same width, same everything. I think PCI modeled this particular slab to be similar and on par with the NGC. The PCGSs are a little bit skinnier in comparison to the PCIs and NGCs. But they even use the same material for the white soap bar insert in here. It's got its own authentication numbers and barcodes and, doodads and doohickeys and so on and so forth. This particular coin right here is one that I picked up at an affordable rate. I bought it as a raw coin, but it is a 1942 Mercury Dime, obviously, but it is a proof coin. Okay, you don't come across these that often. The reverse has stunningly beautiful toning. And this is a coin that in another video, I will crack out of this slab. So stay tuned for that one. I'm going to demonstrate how I crack through slabs when I either resubmit the coin to a different third-party grader, or I crack it out to take the coin out and put into one of my legacy albums or a typeset album or what have you. But this right here, I wanted to talk about PCI. There are other third-party graders in the mix that also exist. You even have the David Hall flips, which, by the way, are the first generation of graded coins. As you guys know, David Hall, once part of PCGS, has disbanded from the grading company and now works independently. So anyways, I wanted to talk about PCI. So there's that right there. So while we're at it, let's go ahead and talk about the various generations of slabs. Now, I don't have every single one represented, but PCGS is one of the earliest renditions of a graded coin. This one is affectionately referred to as an OGH, or original green holder, as evidenced by this old school kind of like index card paper piece in there with all the information that was typed in. In the much more earlier types of this slab, they did not put the soft ring inside. So the coins can shift. They call those rattlers, but they're in much the same generation of plastic holder. Okay, same with the hologram, and this PCGS logo is embossed from this particular plastic field right here. But this one right here, the holograms are very easy to scratch off, okay, and happens on occasion. But this is a 1938D Mint State 66. So here's where the whole, this is where you have the opportunity to make money, okay? The older generation PCGS slabs during that period, let's say 1980s into the early 90s, PCGS was one of the strictest grading companies to ever exist during that time. So some would argue that these coins are severely undergraded. Okay, so let's take this one coin for instance. Someone spots this on eBay, or they spot it on some retail site that sells coins, and they want to buy this coin and think that maybe it would get a grade bump to maybe a 67, 67 plus. Of course, for 1938D, this is one of the more plentiful coins in the series because even though it has a lower mintage compared to some of those other dates, this is a coin right here that was hoarded quite often and quite regularly in high grades. Kind of think of it as the modern day West Point quarters, okay, that you find in change and sell for 10 to 20 bucks a piece. That was the same thing as this 1938 Buffalo. But let's say, for instance, someone buys this, they crack it out of this old OGH holder, and then they resubmit it to PCGS. What do you think it does to the actual value of the coin if this comes back as a 68? Let that soak in for a little bit. It would go from being a $50 coin to something that's worth many hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And that's kind of how the game plays. Now, Rattlers and OGHs existed in a lot more frequency during the pre-recession age, so like between 2005 and 2008, than they do right now. For the mere fact that a lot of these grading flippers have come out of the woodwork after that time. Okay, there are investors that have gone through the paces of learning more about coins and grading, and they have bought up all of the reasonably nice looking coins, and they have cracked them out of the old slabs and then resubmitted them into some of the newer holders and get a grade bump and make a ton of money. Okay, and that was a pretty good practice between like 2008 and 2015. Okay, although it is still going on to this day. So that's the OGH right there. So this one right here, this 1939 D Mercury Dime, is what I would consider to be somewhat of a next-gen kind of coin. This is I would say later 2000s, so between like 2008 to 2000, I believe 15 or 16. This hologram right here is typical for this slab style or generation. This is probably a Gen 4. There is another holder that looks similar to this that has what they call a doily label. So it really does look like a doily, one that your grandmother would put on her side table with a vase, sitting on top of it. So that would be kind of like a Gen 2 or a Gen 3. But this would be the next generation right here. Of course, it's a lot more polished. It's a larger sized slab compared to the OGH. Right there, so much larger, and this would deem to be the PCGS standard for sizing of this particular slab. They do have the clips. By the way, these are easy to break or chip. All right, it does not affect in any way the actual appeal of the coin or the value of the coin because it is still graded. And then you also have the same lip right here that goes all the way around the back of the coin that would receive in these 4 clips on the corners, and you could stack them really well. So here's an example right here. So this coin up top is of a different generation. It's a little bit newer. The plastic actually looks like a different color. This older one looks blue. This one is like more of a clear. But the coins, they don't move. They might click a little bit. But when you have them stacked on top of each other, they're very secure. All right. So this Delaware Commemorative that you see here next to it, keep in mind these are also CAC green beaned also, so they got the extra certification. The only thing to note that's any different is the construction of the slab have these tabs in there, okay, which I believe they insert to each other to make the slab a little bit more secure compared to the older gen. And this one also has the the silicone tabs, all right, which touch the coin on 3 contact points, as opposed to this one where it actually makes contact with the entire edge of the coin. So that's a little bit different. You also notice that the PCGS label is typed or printed on the back, and then you have just this little spot hologram sticker on the right side of this particular slab. And then you'll notice also that the slab has a gradated blue to white look on here. They got rid of that Series 31. I don't know what that is, but everything all in all still looks the same. All right. So that's that one there. And then finally, the 2 of the newest generation of PCGS slabs are a little bit more stockier in width. So let me go ahead and take this Merc Dime right here. By comparison, you'll see that the newest generation is a little bit thicker than the previous generation from the late 2000s and early 2010s. This one right here, on the reverse, they actually integrated a QR code in there along with the printed PCGS logo. And then this time you actually have a strip of hologram. This is more of a security feature on there. Much like it was a security feature on some of those older coins. However, this one is more, this one is on the plastic. It's not a sticker. All right, but that's what that one looks like. This is the newest generation of PCGS slabs. Okay, now I have another one here. By comparison, this is a coin I submitted 2 years ago. As you can see, that hologram is just slightly thinner on there, although I firmly believe that this might have been scratched. I don't know. That hologram right there is scratched away because you have a little tab of it right there. But that's what that looks like. Same thing. It's got the 3 contact points silicone insert in there that holds the coin together. So people would go and crack out old OGHs and rattlers and doilies, although the doilies by themselves are worth a lot of money. If this Buffalo wasn't a doily holder as a 66, it would probably be worth double, even though the coin isn't worth that. It's more of a nostalgia thing at that point. But they would crack it out, resubmit it, and using today's a little bit more lenient grading standards, hopefully they'll get a bump and then, they're in turn make money on the secondary market by reselling it. So that's PCGS. Let's talk about NGC. Okay, NGC has had a few generations of slabs. I don't have one that's super old. This is the oldest one I have. Again, this is from that period of 2008 to 2012. This is what they call a soap bar. This one has the hologram that was there. This was actually a coin that I used as a pocket piece when I was still working before I became a full-time YouTuber. But it would scratch off really easily. This was in my pocket all the time, and my wife got this for me for Father's Day one year, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and I've had it since. So the hologram would be on there. It's just kind of screened onto the plastic, and it's not a sticker. So that's one of the earlier generations. Now, we went from the soap bar full contact coin insert to the tabbed, okay? And these use 4 tabs on there, 4 contact points on the coin. And as you can see, the label printing is different. It's a little bit larger on the newer type. And then there is also an overlay of hologram right here for counterfeit deterrency, I guess. Same deal. This is what a full hologram would look like. Again, it's not a sticker. It's actually screened right onto the plastic. But it's an attractive, looking presentation. Okay, and as we continue on, as you can see here, a little bit different. The coin on the right is a Civil War token, so just the overall information is different. but the barcode's centered, and then you have this NGC label that is centered on there. You have the full bronze bar or copper bar that goes all the way across with an overlay of the hologram feature on there. So that's pretty neat. Still using the same 4 contact points, silicone insert, and it's white. Now here's where things really get interesting. You get into other NGC labels where they could actually do custom labeling, okay? Like in this case, NGC's 25th anniversary is printed along with a hologram overlay, and it also has a black insert on this Mapes Casino Horde coin. All right, and it also has the same hologram that hasn't changed over the years. But NGC is starting to crank out some really beautiful presentations. They're beginning to use different colored inserts. Like on the Chinese Panda silver coins, they actually use a red insert with a red label. And PCGS is doing that as well. Very beautiful presentations. Here's an early release label right here. Okay, this is a relatively recent 2014 because it's an early release. This was slabbed within the first, I would say, month or two of the release of the 2014 West Point Silver Eagles. Of course, this one right here has a very attractive early release against a blue background with a hologram overlay. Same hologram on the back. It's a little bit different. It doesn't have that little jewel that's sitting there. And then on this one, it has 4 contact points. It's a little bit smaller, but that's because of the size of the coin that's in there. And then here is another more beautiful presentation. You guys have seen this here recently. 225th anniversary 2017 commemorative medal, foolproof 70 ultra cameo. Of course, it's got the American flag and all the other design outlay. That I believe is specific to this type of coin here. If it was a Chinese panda, maybe you might see some of the kanji writing along with some of the other design work on there. This is a current generation of NGC slab. Again, you have your choice. And this one has 3 contact points, by the way, as opposed to 4. But this is, you would have your choice of a few different color choices depending on the coin or metal that you're sending in. So that's NGC there for you. And I wanted to go ahead and mention the fact that Annex was kind of copying off of NGC's soap bar slab style. This is an probably early 2000s slab right here. It's got a hologram right there, which isn't as flashy as some of the other ones. You only have flashes of red on the Annex logo right there. Plus you also have a Annex logo on the inside plastic there, and then you have this white soap bar style silicone insert that holds the coin completely, hugs the coin right on the edge, and then all the diagnostics for the coin. The earlier ones, if it's your first time looking at it, can confuse you a little bit. Because on this particular instance, this 1960 proof Roosevelt dime is a double die reverse number 1. It's a cherry picker's guide variety, plus it has the FS number, which is completely different than what it is today. This is the old attribution number that Favaz and Stanton were using for those earlier cherry picker's guide varieties. All right, so that's an older Annex. You could easily confuse it for a NGC if you're not careful, but it's got the Annex green lettering behind there that you'll want to pay attention to. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is kind of like a roundabout type of explanation as to what all the coins are. Okay, making money. There are a few things going on. Again, people cracking out older generation PCGS and NGC slabs because they're undergraded. They're not all undergraded. Keep that in mind, okay? This is where a trained eye will help you develop your kind of like sense in whether or not a coin is worth buying in these OGH holders or rattlers or the early soap bar style NGC holders, or the Annex, or whatever the case may be. Again, they were a lot stricter in their grading standards back in the late 80s and into the 90s. So those coins Again, just to recap, purchased up by investors or experienced collectors. They'll crack them out, they'll resubmit them to today's standards through PCGS or NGC, and then they'll flip it. And it's not out of the question that people make $5,000 to $10,000 extra on their coins because of the grade bump that they get from an earlier slab and into a new one. It's pretty crazy if you think about it, but it's a practice that's still going on to this day. Nowadays, it's just being able to find the actual inventory of older style slabs and taking advantage of it. PCI, again, they have been known to undergrade their coins, so do not turn your back against this particular grading company right here. I mean, PCI was a real thing, all right? But over the years, toward the end of their actual life as a grader, okay, they were hammered hard by the coin collecting community because they thought, well, you know what, they're grading coins, way heavy, okay, and they're actually bumping up the grades of a lot of coins by maybe 2 or 3 points, and it has really put kind of a shiner on the old graded aspect of the hobby, more so with PCI than all the other ones. But anyways, that's it. That's the video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry it took too long, but I wanted to kind of lay it all out there on the table as far as what's going on with graded coins and how you, as either a new collector or investor or a seasoned person, can kind of differentiate between all the different styles of slabs and how people are monetizing off of buying current graded coins and then flipping them for major amounts of cash. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I want to thank you guys for joining in on this very special episode. They're all pretty special, I guess. I keep saying that. I'm your host, Sean, with Blue Ridge Silverhound. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell for instant notifications. Thank you so much for all your support. Hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care, and I will see you next time.